Fellow gamers, welcome back to Video Game Vibes Podcast. I am your sweet lad, Super Potion, aka Grog, aka Grog Games.
We love you.
I'm here with my sweet... What?
We love you, Grog. We love you.
I'm here with my boy, PatriotJax. Jax, say hi.
Hello, everyone. How are we all doing?
We're doing today. It's another
doing?
Beautiful pod. Another beautiful day for a pod. And by that I mean indoors where it's not mucky, because it's terrible weather outside for both of us.
It's so hot. I had a birthday barbecue today, and most of the time everyone was just in the shade because it was sweltering. It's legitimately so hot, so I do apologise if you can see me perspirating if you're watching this on YouTube.
So yesterday... I know this is not gaming related, but I'm gonna tell my story.
Hey, it's the intro. We're just, shooting it. Yeah.
People want to know about us. Yesterday, my wife and I, is when I say we, because of course it's me and my wife. One of her friends had a half birthday party. That expression is pretty correct.
Yeah.
But as I learned later, it was more so because we didn't really celebrate her original birthday, so it was like, okay, that counts or whatever. But it was really interesting. It wasn't as muggy as it was today, but which was great. It was just warm weather. But what we did was I don't know if do you have Lifetime Fitnesses over in the UK? Have you heard of Lifetime Fitness?
I mean, I'm sure it's a thing, but, I'm one of the most unfit, unhealthy people, you could know, so,
that's not
I wouldn't know about it.
Anyway, so all you need to know is it's like a fancy gym, the kind of gym that has like, every single gym equipment, and then also a spa, and then also a pool, and then also a sauna, and then also a cafe, and then also a chiropractor. Just anything that you want for.
I feel like that's
really
what David
people.
Lloyd is over here. I feel like that's what David Lloyd's gym. I think. Yeah. Again, not that I've been inside, but I'm pretty sure it's like one of the most fancy, expensive gyms. Maybe I should hit the gym. Look at this. I should hit the gym.
No, you look great. But my wife's friend, who's my friend as well, she rented a cabana on top of the Lifetime Fitness, where the pool is. So you can rent a cabana, which is like, I forgot what a cabana was. It's just like a tent, sort of like walls and then like an awning, and you can just sit and have drinks and stuff. And go to the pool. So we had a little outing yesterday, and it was sort of cool. But it was very crowded and really weird because I go to a really cheap gym normally, and I know we're not at the gym part, so it's not as bad.
Yeah.
But the same people go to the roof, so you're seeing all these hot people like super buff and fit and stuff, and I'm just like, okay, sick, cool, excellent, nice. I'm just gonna enjoy my 3 beverages and sit here at the pool.
That's the way to do it, my dude.
Yeah,
that's the way to do it. That was lovely. I do want to make a quick admission regarding the previous podcast, and I feel like, and obviously as we're recording this, we haven't published any of the other podcasts yet. I may have been a bit harsh with my Sonic Colors, let's say berating. So I'm making a pledge to anyone who listened to it and disagree with me, like, fair play, I'm going to make an active attempt to play Sonic Colors on my Switch and give it more of a chance. I'm going to give it a bit more of a chance because I feel like when I listened back, I thought I was a bit harsh with it. So
you were a little harsh. I do like the apologizing before anyone yells at us thing, though. That's Mate, good.
That's just a disclaimer. We're gonna have those for like every pod for one thing or another,
Disclaimer: don't yell at us, because yeah, I mean, honestly, wait, how many hours did you say you got in Sonic Colors?
Maybe like 3 or 4. Like, it's not a lot, and that partly is that because I wasn't enjoying it. But as I say, I need to. It's only right that I give it a bit more of a fair whack, especially considering at least the original version is rated quite highly. I just don't know why,
Supposedly, it's fine.
But I'll tell you what I have been doing. I've been playing a lot of Metal Gear Solid 5, and I actually just beat it for the first time a few days ago, and I'll get into that as we're going to talk about stealth games in this episode. But I was going to ask you, have you watched Stranger Things yet?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, I forgot that, like, last time we talked, that was not a thing. It's been 2 weeks, and that happened in between the podcast episodes. Yes, I have finished all Stranger Things. I actually didn't rewatch the whole entire thing again.
No, I didn't.
Okay. To prepare for Stranger Things, I watched season 3 before season 4 came out. Watched season 4, pretty much binged it. Except for like the last 2 episodes, and then I watched it immediately the next day, and I have rewatched the final episode as well, just because I had to watch it again because it was so good. But yeah, I'm caught up, and it's sort of crazy. I don't know how much spoilers are we giving right now?
I think, well, if we just say spoilers ahead, you skip
1 minute.
Yeah, skip 2 minutes or so. I loved it. I thought it was like, there's very few shows that can keep putting out like really good seasons. Like, yeah. I would say the weakest season of Stranger Things is season 2, and I think most people sort of think, yeah. It just keeps going. Like, it keeps bringing out like suspense and stuff. It never drops off. Like, you never have a season when it drops off. And obviously, as season 5 is going to be the last season, I think it's nice that it's not too long, and it's going to round itself off really well. Yeah. You know, Vecna, and it kind of done itself really well. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm watching 2.5 hours of the last one. It was, I think, did we break it up? I think we actually watched through the whole thing, and it was just mind blowing. I loved every second of it.
It was it was amazing. I could not fully comprehend what was gonna happen, and I thought more people were gonna die. And
I thought Max was dead. I legit, in that moment, I was like, Max is dead. But prior to that, I was like, I think Lucas is actually going to get strangled to death by that douchebag guy. I actually thought initially, I was like, oh, he's going to die, and then Max is going to live. And then I was like, no, Max is going to live.
Oh, tragic. I just, as long as Steve is fine.
Steve is the best. We love Steve.
I will riot. I will burn the streets down if Steve dies in the last season.
I mean, they kind of almost, they set it up so he would die almost. You know, when he was talking about, oh, you know, I want to have 7 kids and I want it with you now. It kind of, it was almost set up so it was almost like a bait and switch, like to the audience, like oh yeah, look, it's going to happen. No, Steve's fine. We love Steve.
I had to look it up, guys. Okay, so since Stranger Things ended, I basically have been watching theory videos, like,
yeah, all over my TikTok.
Yeah. The Duffer Brothers also did an interview like a month before the final 2 episodes, and watched that as well. Apparently, the series is based off of a government facility called
the
Camp
Montauk
Hero
Project
in Montauk, New York. You know about this already?
I've seen the theories about the I think it's Russian woman named Nina, and that's why they called that you know, the tank that that 11 sits in is called Nina. I think that's the reference that's what they're referring to. But apparently this Russian woman called Nina apparently had psychic and telekinetic abilities.
And she was at Camp Montauk?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just wild. I don't know.
It's wild to think, though, if that's actually, like, the case.
The real thing that there was a government agency that, you know, was hiding, like, psychic experiments underneath the earth. And they claim there's no tunnels down there, but there are tunnels. People said there are, so I don't know. I love all that supernatural stuff, and, like, just the fact that it's sort of a real place is freaky.
you could go down a rabbit hole. There's so many cool theories out there.
Yeah, because, like, I thought I heard that, like, there's little boys taken from the town, and they're using them for the experiments there. Anyway, okay, we won't go into it. That's a whole nother thing. We'll leave that to another podcast to take care of. Here on Video Game Vibes, we talk about video games and why we love them so much, and you know, just vibe to how they are. And Jax, what are we talking about today?
we're talking about the state of stealth games. Now, as I say, I'll straight up say that this is this was sort of my idea to sort of talk about this, because stealth games are a huge part of what I grew up playing, and it was mainly Metal Gear Solid. And as time has gone on, I feel like I've noticed a trend, and it's not just me that's talked about it. I've seen it on YouTube and other stuff. But today we're going to talk about, are stealth games as a genre, are they dead? Because we don't see that many AAA stealth games. And I will say, this is a disclaimer. This could be coming just from someone who's a very ardent Metal Gear Solid fan. And obviously that franchise is essentially dead until Sony buys it out and starts remaking them or something. But yeah, I'll just put that out there. But I thought it's a really interesting topic to discuss, and I think it would be quite interesting to delve into.
And this will also be interesting because, for one, Metal Gear Solid's going to be our premise, essentially, right? And I know nothing about Metal Gear Solid. I know nothing whatsoever. But the other reason why it's going to be interesting from my point of view is I don't like stealth at all in video games.
You have the contrasting
viewpoints. If a game gives me the opportunity to use stealth, I will use it to the extent where I'll try and sneak up on someone, and then I'll essentially blow them up. I will not full on pretend that I'm not there in a game, because that's just not my style. I don't like doing it. I'm bad at stealth, and I always just throw that option out the window. So
I find that fascinating. Yeah. I'm literally the polar opposite. When a game gives me that opportunity, I'm so excited. I love the idea of clearing like a pathway or a base or something without them almost ever knowing you were there. I don't know, there's something about that I love. And as I said, I grew up playing stealth games. I'll say, we're talking about Metal Gear Solid. We're going to talk about some other games that stealth is heavily involved in. But to kick this off, I just want to throw a few stats up, man. I've done a bit of research.
Whoa, trivia time!
Cut that bit out.
What? I'm putting that in. You can't make me.
Well, no, I just looked up video game sales and video games in sort of the 2010s and the late 2010s and stuff like that. And I came across a set of data, video games sales based on genre. Okay. And, you've got your action, adventure, fighting, platform, puzzle. The stealth genre isn't even on the list. It's not even considered a genre in modern day gaming, at least for this particular one. So essentially, the premise of at least sort of my argument, my point is that as games have become more open world and a lot of AAA developers focus a lot more on open world games, what they've essentially done is incorporate stealth mechanics into open world, and not even just open world, but just maybe like RPGs in general. They've incorporated the stealth mechanics into it so that you could play the game the way you want. And a lot of games, when you think of open world games, like I was just playing it earlier, Horizon Zero Dawn is a great example of that. You can choose stealthy options. You hide in bushes and then you take down a giant robot dinosaur. Look at The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2, games where you are sneaking up on clickers and whatever. You don't have to do it like that, but the game gives you the opportunity to do it. And that's where I feel like the stealth as a genre, in terms of games that focus primarily on stealth, have shifted more into a game mechanic where bigger open world games that let the player choose how they want to play the game, they let them do that as an option. Yeah?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. And I guess my first question is, what game, and what the audience is probably thinking too, what games primarily count as just stealth games? Apart from Metal Gear Solid, are there other games
absolutely
that are considered core stealth?
Pre sort of the 2010s and pre sort of big open world games, the first two that I sort of found myself playing in the PlayStation 1 original Xbox era was Metal Gear Solid and Splinter Cell. And then in the next generation, there was Hitman.
Oh, right.
Hitman games are still going now and still going strong. And those are games that are, that primarily use stealth. There are a lot of games that focus themselves around stealth. Back then, you got games like Thief. But those games, the point of the game was to do things stealthy. So, in essence, it would not necessarily punish you for doing it a different way, but the focus of the game, and if you wanted to play the game maybe as the developers wanted you to, you would do it in that specific stealthy way. And growing up playing those games, that I loved. I loved the idea that you sneak around, hang from, I'm thinking of Splinter Cell now, hang from the tops of poles, and grab an enemy and just take them out and stuff like that. And Metal Gear Solid obviously is hiding guards in lockers and stuff, so other guards wouldn't see them and stuff like that. Just all of those game mechanics, they resonated really well with me, and I just played them so much. But when you look at sort of the 2010s and with what open world sort of became, it then shifted its, open world games sort of shifted how players could play games. And you think about a game like Breath of the Wild, that's a perfect example of a game that literally lets you out onto the big open world, doesn't tell you where to go, and it gives you the option to play the game however you want. And when it came to games sort of in the 2010s, when you think of in my head anyway, the first open world game that I think of, funny enough, is Assassin's Creed, which originally is predominantly a stealth game.
The first Assassin's Creed?
Yeah. In my mind, I consider that to be a stealth game, but it was also one of the biggest sort of open world games, and a lot of games sort of built their games on with that sort of template.
In regards to stealth as a core game versus stealth as a modern day game,
a mechanic.
As a mechanic, you're saying Assassin's Creed falls into stealth as a core instead of modern day genre.
I would say the first few Assassin's Creed. I played Assassin's Creed 1, 2, and Brotherhood, Brotherhood I thought was amazing, by the way. I still haven't completed Assassin's Creed 3, even though I've got it on 2 different consoles, but there we go. I think I got bored of it, to be honest. And I've not played the later ones, so, hands up, I haven't played the later ones. But I feel like some of it shifted from stealth. So I think if you think of it, I guess you think of it like a developer. Now, would you spend, I don't know, tons of money making a super detail-oriented stealth game, or could you hit a more mainstream casual audience by giving them the option of stealth, but having the action and all that other stuff in an RPG or an open world game?
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes perfect sense. You're just making your net bigger to cast and get people to come and play your game, and they can play it how they want to. So are you admitting right now that essentially people play stealth games just aren't as common anymore?
I don't know if it's necessarily the people, but I think it's the games. And I think where you find in stealth games now is a lot more in the indie game sort of realm, where you'll find a lot of niche games that kind of focus, that are made predominantly, that are a core stealth game that only focus on stealth mechanics and all that sort of stuff. I think the sort of the proliferation in the early noughties of horror games kind of added to what stealth games are, because a large part of horror games is sneaking around, trying not to get caught by whatever freaking crazy ass creature you
define murder. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. It did it in freaking Security Breach. So those are stealth elements as well.
Is Security Breach a stealth game?
No, I wouldn't say so. I'd say it's well, I wouldn't say it's when you think of it, you think it's predominantly a horror game. And if you think like most of what you do, it's not it's a good question. It's a good question.
Going by your own logic, you're saying you're not really fighting anything. I mean, okay, fine. Security breach spoilers, which you should know by now because it's been out. But yeah, okay, you do destroy the animatronics, so I guess you do fight them to an extent at the end.
No, I think boss fights are kind of fighting them. That's a given in any game. So in most games, most games anyway. I think that's a fair point. You know,
the majority of the game,
you're sneaking around
from everything.
Yeah,
everything. There's literally it's just you and Freddy, right? I'm trying to recall all the characters in Security Breach. And I don't think there's anyone that's like
from Roxy and Chica and
apart from like the flyer robot is, I guess, not trying to kill you, but everything else is.
Yeah. Right? No, that's a fair point, and I think that's what I've got to keep in mind. And thank you. Like I say, this is why I think the debate's really good, because a lot of what's in my brain, especially because I've been playing Metal Gear Solid 5 like quite a lot, in my brain I'm like, oh, it's a stealth game is what Metal Gear Solid is, and that's not accurate at all. A stealth game can be so many different things. And like you say, Security Breach, you are literally sneaking around trying to avoid enemies, and you're trying to be stealthy. That's a core part of that game.
Yeah. 100%. So backing up 2 seconds, since I have never played Metal Gear Solid at all. In Metal Gear Solid, you cannot go guns blazing Rambo type moves, right? Like that's not possible.
It is, but it's punished to an extent. So at least in the sort of the earlier titles, when you're spotted, you'll have like an alert status and everyone comes charging at you. And it's not to say that you can't blast your way past them and stuff, but it's almost like a punishment. And the whole premise of the game, it's all built around infiltration and sort of reaching that destination, avoiding combat. So, there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't walk out there and start just popping people left, right, and centre.
I'm Solid Snake.
You know what I mean? But it's based on sort of the game's focus and stuff like that. But I guess I'm thinking, like I said before, like AAA games, like top quality AAA games. I don't see, aside from like the latest Hitman, you've got Sniper Elite, which I guess I've not really played any of them. But if they only focus on just sniping someone from however far away, fair enough. And you're not going in all guns blazing, I would imagine. If you're a sniper, that's not really how that works. Yeah, I just think that at least in the focus of AAA development, stealth is not something that's on the forefront of their mind. And I guess you got to keep in mind how trends have sort of progressed, because you think back 4 years ago, and it was all about battle royales, and that was sort of the focus. Up from PUBG, and you had Fortnite, and then loads of other ones sort of exploded. Prior to that, you had the hero shooters when Overwatch came out, and then you had loads of Overwatch clones like Paladins and stuff like that. So, AAA games sort of going on a different trend sort of every few years. I'm not too sure what it is at the minute. I'm glad to see resurgence in linear story games, because I love those personally. I guess from your point of view, you're sort of thinking, when does a core game that focuses around stealth then not become that and then become just a mechanic in a game? In my mind, that's purely based on the premise of the game itself.
Okay.
So if the target of the game and of the characters and stuff and how it sort of describes what you should be doing, that I feel is how you're gonna follow the game, if you like. Because if you're, I can't remember the name of the game, but if you're a thief and you're robbing, I don't know, a bank, for example, and you're told by your guy, like, we've got to go in, do this, infiltrate this, we can't be caught otherwise, blah, blah, blah. then that is, in my mind, that's the premise of that is you have to be stealthy. That is the core part of the game, and you have to do it that way, because if you don't, this and this will happen. Or, you fail immediately. I don't know.
Yeah. So the last stealth game that I can recall playing myself, and it was a while ago, was Dishonored, which I think we had talked about, and you said that you have not played, right?
I've not, but I heard so many good things about it, and I think at the time it was a refreshing take on a stealth game and it was nearer that time where there was less of those bigger stealth games coming out.
Yeah, 100%. And it's also cool because it's mixed with these superpowers that you have. You're essentially like an Assassin's Creed type fella who works for this government, but you end up getting superpowers. So the movement's really cool because you can sort of like teleport to another part of a building, or you can just be like, I want to be over there, and then I'm over there now, which is really neat. Because, I mean, in other games, you have to walk and take your time to get over to certain places, and you might get caught. It's not necessarily cheating, because you can't do it continually like that.
I wouldn't say it's cheating at all. No, I think that's a good mechanic.
It's just like a little skip. And there's other little things you can do, too. Like, there's, of course, the classic, I can see outlines of people, because it's just, like, sightseeing, essentially.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. I'm bringing this up because when I played Dishonored, I was so bad at it. I was terrible at it. I loved the fact that I could stealthily take out enemies. I did like that. Don't get me wrong. I completely found the same joy that you experience in your games while I was doing it. It's just that I messed up all of the time. And every time that I messed up, I would essentially aggro everyone in the whole entire level to come at me. And I guess that's the negative takeaway. With the like difficulty spike was the result of me being so bad at the stealth game itself.
Yeah.
But I mean, I still had fun, and like I still enjoyed taking care of business my way, which was to fight everyone else instead of taking out as many enemies as possible. But the premise itself, I guess, didn't change. Like, I mean, I think Dishonored was a sort of game where I believe you when you say that it's core stealth. However, they did do it to the extent where I had my options, and if I didn't want to play that way, I totally didn't have to.
Yeah.
But it would just make the game harder itself. So I think they did a really good job of, mixing new style with the stealth style.
I think
I would highly recommend Jax.
Yeah. No, I might have to have a look at it, to be fair. I think that's a core part of stealth games in general, is that if you don't use the stealth mechanics, like I say, you're punished and the game becomes more difficult. So, depending on how you sort of want to play it, I guess, if you don't mind everyone coming at you all at once, fair enough, you freaking go for it. But with the game's design being that you're stealthing your way around, that is the main idea, the main premise. And yeah, I guess for me, I love seeing it in open world games and stuff. Like, it's like whenever I play open world games, that incorporate stealth mechanics. Like I was saying, I was just playing Horizon Zero Dawn because I want to finish that because I've now finished Metal Gear Solid 5. It incorporates stealth mechanics quite a lot. I don't want to run at a giant freaking robot dinosaur.
What?
And
Why not?
in the hopes that I can take it out with like 6 arrows. I don't know. I like the idea of, luring it closer to me while I'm hiding in like a bush, and then one-shotting it with my staff from doing a stealth shot. I love that. Yeah, I don't really know what to add to that.
I mean, I'll throw out another example as well, since we're on that. So I've played Shadows of Mordor. Have you played that one?
I completed it, mate. I loved that game. I love that game. I think it was underrated, personally.
I thought it did really well. Like, I thought a lot of people knew about it. and loved it.
To be fair, maybe I did. I don't hear anyone talk about it. I played a bit of the Shadows of War. Do you know what Shadows of Mordor was? I think it was one of the early Let's Plays on my channel, I think.
Was it?
I did a couple of videos of one of those Lord of the Rings. It was either the sequel or Shadow of Mordor, but it is a great game.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of stealth in there as well, but once again, I would mess up all the time. But I would, like Shadows of Mordor, I would go into it trying my best to be stealthy. I'd be like, yeah, I'm getting those bushes. Yeah, I'm climbing those walls of stone to get up there so I can do like a stealth lunge down on an orc. Absolutely. But then I would get like seen, and then I would just have to fight my way out from it. But I really like Shadows of Mordor. That was one of the games where I think I like you're saying, it's open world, totally not a stealth core game, but it's very heavily implied. I would say like more favorable to be a stealth game over like just a rough and tumble hack and slash action game, right?
Yeah,
it's essentially like you would do so much better stealthing in Shadows of Mordor than just going right up to the orcs and doing your business.
I think that's what a lot of open world games do. They kind of, as it's a mechanic, like in Shadow of Mordor, they will reward stealth kills with like points or an achievement or something like that. You tend to find, you get extra whatever, like currency or something, for doing a certain amount of stealth kills or something like that. So again, it's incentivized, in bigger open world games to give it a try. But yeah, I think sort of, from where I'm standing from, I guess I'm not too surprised with how AAA games have sort of stopped to an extent. I'll say to an extent. It's not, is stealth...
I completely not.
Is stealth, is it dead? Certainly not, because I think the indie game industry, they keep it alive, and you can find some really good indie gems that focus entirely around stealth. You can find them. Indie horror games, like as I said before, you'll find so many like that. I guess for me, I just wish there was that big blockbuster, AAA stealth game, which I don't know if we're going to see again because of what open world games are and because of how the shift in game design is focused around getting the player to kind of choose how they want to play the game for a lot of open world games.
A lot of the more successful games. Yeah.
I think so, yeah. And I go back to Breath of the Wild as a perfect example of an open world game that lets you play it how you want, lets you go where you want. Like, I really enjoyed playing that. I stealthed sort of a bit. I don't think you can do it to the extent where you can do it entirely in stealth. Or if you can, I think you kind of miss out on a lot of stuff if you try and do it all stealthily.
Yeah, when he brought up Breath of the Wild, I was like, oh yeah, you can stealth in that game. I forgot I crouched at one point. I don't think I ever crouched in Breath of the Wild like once. I was just like, oh yeah, these guys, let's get them. Absolutely.
Yeah, but again, that's what the developers want. They want people playing it in any way that they want to, and that's what attracts, as you said, a larger audience.
So let me form a question here. In relation for stealth games, for older stealth games that are not open world, do you think that restricts the choices essentially of the gamer in order to play the game? I mean, obviously, like you said yourself, open world, you can go here, you can go there, you can do stuff in certain ways. For these stealth games like Metal Gear Solid, I'm sure you have your options about how to stealth, but it does limit what you can do, right?
In terms of what? In terms of, well, obviously, if it's let's take Assassin's Creed 1 or Assassin's Creed 2, because they are both open world and in my mind a core stealth game. And whilst you could potentially play the game in a different way from what the premise is, which is to go around and stealthily stab people in the neck with your secret knife or whatever.
Special little knife, yeah.
If you think about sort of the side quests and the main quests and how they get you to... I'm thinking back to the original Assassin's Creed where it's like, oh, you've got to blend in with a crowd, sit down on a nearby bench, blend in and listen to this conversation to get to progress further in that quest. So the game's quests are already pushing you in that stealth direction. You know, they're pushing you into that way. If we go back to, like, say, the original Metal Gear Solid and talking about, does it restrict you from playing the game how you want? It does, but only in the limits of the game itself. And by that I mean Metal Gear Solid, the original Metal Gear Solid, pretty much the whole franchise, is based around you doing it in a stealthy way. Now, they give you an option, or rather, you can, if you want to, find a gun. But taking the first game, for example, there's a gun in the truck when you reach the helipad. You can take that gun, you can take it out, and you can walk up and try and shoot the guards if you want. Or,
and what would happen if you did that?
Well, if you don't have a suppressor on, you're probably going to get found out because every other guard's going to hear you shoot that bullet in that particular area.
And then eventually you just run out of bullets is what would happen, right? Or they would overwhelm you?
Well, yeah, it'd be, 1, you'd probably die. 2, you manage to take them all out either through combat or you shoot them all, or you try and run through to the next section. So one of those 3 things is sort of how it would go down. So in terms of restricting how you play it, it's only in the limits of the game itself. So in that regard, yeah, it's kind of based on the game itself, you know?
Okay. So, and I of course am taking consideration that if I were to pick up a game, I would know to an extent what I'm getting into.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, like, if I play Metal Gear Solid, yeah, I think stealth might be in there a little bit. But I don't know. That's one thing that I don't like about stealth games is, like, I can stealth 1, 2, or 3. I can stealth in 1 or 2 or 3 ways, okay. But I have to stealth because, like, that I get that that's the point of the game, and it's making me complete it in a certain way, and I don't like that. I like having my options.
And see, that's what modern AAA game developers have realized, that a lot of people don't want to be restricted in specific game mechanics.
Yeah, you know. It's one thing saying, hey, NPCs, like, go do this. But it's another thing where the mechanic makes it that you have to do it in that exact way. Whereas in an open world game, if NPC says, this is you're doing this, and then you can go about it any way you want. Like, for example, I guess just one stupid example that I thought of because you were talking about Breath of the Wild earlier. If you go up to a camp and there's a treasure chest, you can, like, go up to the enemies, and if you wanted to, you could just leave. You don't even have to get the treasure chest if you don't want to. You could be like, no, never mind, don't need to.
Yeah.
And then just walk away. Or you could solve in any number of ways. I think at one point in Breath of the Wild, they have, like, little traps you can do. You totally don't have to do those traps if you don't want to. Don't have to be stealthy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe it's just me where it's like I'm too stubborn. I don't like being stuck in a certain path forward that I have to do for a game.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's about choice, I think, and I think a lot of games moving forward give the player a choice, and I think that's where stealth games have sort of fallen into a mechanic of a choice rather than this is how to play the game, because it's probably more, like as we said, more profitable to do it that way. Just going back, I was just thinking about Splinter Cell, and I think that kind of goes to the extreme in terms of how you're meant to play the game. Obviously, it was originally like an Xbox. I've got it on Steam now. I actually want to play it, like one of the original Splinter Cells, Chaos Theory. It takes it to the extreme in terms of if you're spotted, if you try and do the game a different way. Because, as you said, you know, if you've chosen to buy Splinter Cell, you're not choosing it with the intention that you're gonna, like, get an AK and start go through shooting them all. You know, that's obviously not what's gonna happen. So, right. Again, it comes back to choice.
And choice matters, apparently. I think it does, anyway. Jax, what's another thing you want to talk about with stealth games?
I don't know. I think that's sort of my main point, and I guess what I would say to anyone is if they've if they enjoy stealth and they've not played the Metal Gear Solid franchise, go and play it. Go and find a way to play it. Don't get me wrong, it's not easy in terms of, I think Metal Gear Solid 5's the only one on PC that you can play. If you happen to get a PS3, you can get the Metal Gear Solid Legacy Edition, which has all the games. I would just recommend playing it because it is such an amazing franchise. And again, this just feels like a love letter that I'm saying to the Metal Gear Solid franchise that I love and was unfortunately taken away from us because of Konami and Kojima's split. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to say. I guess I would just finish by asking the question that we'll probably have as the title. Are stealth games dead? Are they dead? I would say no. I think they're going to live on. One, in game mechanics, as a game mechanic of bigger games, bigger open world games and RPGs, and also in indie games and horror games. That's where stealth is going to survive. But I don't think we're going to see huge AAA games that, as you say, restrict choice and focus you on those the core stealth gameplay.
Yeah, I sort of agree. I think indie games, no matter whether it's stealth or a different genre, they will always go ahead and find a creative way to have their game made and have the best mechanics and, just components that AAA games don't have. So if stealth lives on in indie games, I'm fine with that.
Indie games are so awesome.
Okay, quick thought. Little Nightmares, is that a stealth game?
It depends if you say, like, if you would look at it right off the bat, would you call it a horror game first? Or would you call it a stealth game? If you, like, in your opinion. I know you asked me a question now, I'm going to answer your question with a question.
In my opinion, I would call it a horror game.
Just before I answer.
Yeah, I suppose it's a horror game.
I'd say it's a horror game. I
haven't played that either. I'm so bad.
Oh my god, dude, you should absolutely be playing Little Nightmares. Jesus Christ.
They're going to be like, SP, why are you even on this podcast? You haven't played anything.
Many games fall into multiple genres, but I would say Little Nightmares is a horror game first. Yeah, probably a stealth game second. Because you are literally always sneaking about. And the whole idea of Little Nightmares is to not get caught. Yeah.
So maybe we just need to view it as stealth isn't dead. It just lives as a multi-classed game. Like, essentially, like, a game can be a stealth game, but it's never going to be just a stealth game.
That's probably the best way to put it, yeah. So, like, so, like, Splinter Cell, Metal Gear Solid Thief probably are stealth games. Yeah, just stealth games.
Just stealth games.
And you could be pedantic and argue, there is action, there is... Shut up. Okay. But yeah, that's sort of what I wanted to get into. It's a bit of a you indulging me
ramble
on stealth. Yeah, a bit of a ramble, but as I say,
that's okay. That's what this is for.
Exactly. I thought it was an interesting thing to dive into, and don't worry, dude, you can have the interesting thing next time. 2 weeks, like.
But guys, please let us know if you're on YouTube. Comment below watching this what stealth games you played recently, and like Jack said, what is stealth dead? Is it dead? We'll find out. I mean, we essentially said it wasn't, but that's our opinion.
Yeah, tell us yours. So, can we vibe check an entire genre? Well, if it's not a genre anymore, it's a game mechanic. Well, most of the stealth games that I've played would absolutely pass the vibe check. If we're talking about Metal Gear Solid, oh yes, does it pass the vibe check? It has the longest cutscenes ever, but boy, is it worth it.
I am conflicted on my end, in my opinion, so I'm not going to answer.
You can say no. We can be conflicted.
The rush that I get when I stealth correctly, I think passes the vibe. But what doesn't pass, in my opinion, is where you're forced to stealth, I guess. Yes.
That's absolutely fair.
That's my point.
No, I like that. The dopamine hit that I get when I stealth someone, like, it literally just... Oh, my brain goes into overdrive. I love it. I just do.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I have this weird thing about not being seen. It's probably because I'm a super introvert and I just don't like being seen. So I project that in games. I don't want to be seen. Turn my camera off.
Just really quick, when I played Far Cry 3, I did stealth the game, which I found amazing. I basically just played with a sniper rifle.
Oh, nice.
And I would take out entire bases just by sniping people. They wouldn't even know I was there.
There you go.
See? The rush was just so good. You know? The rush.
Yeah.
So essentially, we're just adrenaline junkies for stealth.
There you go. Oh, and we come to the final topic, which is Vibe Versus, and what a versus week it was. Oh, I'm so happy to talk about it because guys, I actually won.
He's flexing on me.
I've brought it back, guys. I've brought it back. It's now 2-1 to SP. But yeah,
we played Bennett and Foddy.
We played Getting Over It. Getting Over It. Is that
Bennett and Foddy?
Is that a meme on your channel or something? Why'd you?
What? That it's called? That's the full title of it.
It's Bennett Foddy's Getting Over It. You say Bennett and Foddy.
We're Bennett and Foddy.
Should we change? Yeah, we'll call ourselves Bennett and Foddy. But we play 3 minutes worth, and obviously it was who could get the furthest in those 3 minutes. Yeah. And after us both getting past the tree and then the paddle, it was then basically a race to see who could get past the house bit. And I just went on a good run, like a good 7-second run where it just worked. I kept moving the mouse around just like that, and it just paid off. And that's all I needed. I'm very happy. I look forward to leveling the score next time.
Leveling? We'll see about that. Yeah, I'm disappointed in myself. I got past the initial part, and then couldn't get up that hill. I did get up once, but then I fell down. But, as the game tells you, if you fall, you just gotta get back up. And,
that's it.
I'm gonna get that number 3. 3's my favorite number, Jax.
So. I mean, look what happens when you don't play the game ahead of the... ahead of the Vibe Versus, am I right?
Feels salty. Feels salty every episode.
I won't bring up Sonic Adventure 2 ever again.
He'll bring it back every time.
It's just going to be a meme on the pod now. I'm just going to constantly bring it up. Every Vibe Versus chat.
We do. SP cheated. Yes, of course.
No, I will never say that. Thank you guys. Thank you.
This was our podcast.
Indulging me, more specifically, I would say today. I really do appreciate it. Tell me you love stealth. Leave us a good review. Leave us 5 stars on whatever platform you're listening to us. And obviously Spotify. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. And we'll see you in 2 weeks for the next pod. I'm looking forward to it already.
Video game vibes. That's us.
We're out. We're out.
We're out.